welcome to the OverShadow ShadowCast with your host Thomas Anderson and Tech Wizard Abigail Mori.
Hello, everybody. So I just want to clarify, the reason Tommy sounds tinny is because he's talking to me through his iPad because somebody's not feeling too well today to be in the same room as me.
All that anybody needs to know is that one of us is not feeling well. The whole point is that a lot of the time we're not able to sit in the same room, so we thought we'd give this a go rather than just having me record by myself again, just to see if this works, in which case, you know, you don't have to miss the recording just because one of us isn't feeling well or is otherwise occupied.
Yes, because I think everybody was missing my lightheartedness in this world of monotone.
Thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
Hi guys, welcome to OverShadow ShadowCast with your host Thomas Anderson. Abigail's not well again this week. Right, let's go into the news. Bethesda. Bethesda.
Okay.
EA! Bethesda, EA!
Because I was listening back and I realised that...
What did you realise, Tommy?
That when I'm trying to keep my voice down to not blow out the mic, I sound really bored. I don't want to talk about this and I want to go to sleep.
You're just like, oh guys, this is what I need to tell you now. Go away. I want to go to bed. Bye.
Yeah, I do sound very monotone and bored.
So this is an absolutely amazing story. I hope you like it as much as I do. Even that has too much emotion in it.
And yeah, because it was also, I realised that what I was talking about was how a lot of the stories that we have are about bad things happening.
My voice puts robots once to shame.
And about bad things happening to companies I don't like. So it was me in monotone, just hating on things.
God, everybody, it's terrible. Bethesda again.
Right, shall we get to what you've been playing? Because I've not particularly been playing anything, so...
Why break with tradition?
Pardon?
Why break with tradition?
So what have you been playing?
I have been playing Halo. It has been great. I've been playing Halo, and it has been great.
So one is me, one is yourself. Do you want to build on any of that?
So for a very long time, I was sort of stuck on this island, well, not island, this a beach, and I couldn't get past this one bit. So I was like, right, okay, I'm just gonna log back in because I'd saved it out of.
Tell us where the beach is.
It's on an island on Halo. I don't know.
Oh, hold on. Which mission?
I don't know the cartographer. Something about the cartographer.
Silent cartographer mission.
That's the one. That's the one. Anyway, last time for some reason, it started me off right at the very beginning of the mission because last time I'd saved sort of at one point where I couldn't get past, but for some reason it just started off that entire mission again, which was actually better. But I found, it's still really, really difficult. So I discovered it's because I'm stuck on heroic and I couldn't remember how to get off heroic. So, yeah. That was fun.
Did you go to continue when you went in, or did you just pick a mission?
I went to continue.
Right, well maybe that might have been a left.
It's because last time we played co-op, you always put on heroic.
Yeah, but I'm not entirely convinced that it records that and then starts you on the next mission alone on that difficulty at the very beginning.
Well, anyway, that's what happened. So, for a very long time, I was pretty much just stuck at that one specific point.
What point was it?
It was, I had to get sort of into, it's not a cave, it was kind of a cave and it kind of wasn't a cave. It's like this, like it looks like a cave from the outside, but it's actually the entrance to, I suppose, the innards of this mountain that looks a bit like a spaceship because obviously it's Halo Ring, it's a spaceship thing.
Right, so you're basically trying to get into like a sort of underground bunker.
Yeah.
Or construct or building underground, right?
Yeah.
And why were you stuck?
Because there was loads of Covenant at me, and they kept throwing grenades at me, and I was stuck in that stupid warthog, and I couldn't move, and they kept blowing me up. Again and again and again. And eventually I managed to actually get through that bit, which was nice.
So how did you do on heroic?
That's what I did on heroic. I kept getting blown up.
So how did you get past it?
I just kept doing it again and again and again. See, is it going to work this time? And eventually it did.
Not any different tactics or different weapons?
Nope. Kept at the same thing.
Which was what? Get
in the car, try and drive over them. I used my GTA training in this.
I'm not sure if that works on hunters.
Well, it worked on a lot of them.
Yeah, but I don't think hunters can be run over. I think the vehicle just bounces off them a bit. It hurts them, but I don't think it kills them.
Well, the other things I killed.
Ah, right, okay.
That was my main mission. That was my main goal, was to try and act like GTA and just keep going over them again and again and again.
Well, if you've got people in your car shooting, that works reasonably well, as long as you don't get stuck with a grenade or shot with some sort of...
Yeah, and as long as the people in my car don't die.
Aye.
Which did happen.
Yeah, that would suggest you're not driving fast enough.
Oh well. Anywho, I texted you and I said, oh, this is hell or something like that. And then I got through it pretty quickly, I thought, in terms of how I play. Like, the entire chapter I finished.
Yeah, the mission, because you were complaining about being stuck at that point, and then within about, 15 minutes, you were complaining about being stuck at a different point, which was basically near the end of the mission. I expected it to take a lot longer for you to figure out what you were doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I thought you were stuck on the next set of hunters. It turns out you just blasted past them, and then killed the third set of hunters.
Yeah.
How did you take those ones out?
I used pistol.
And what did you find about the pistol?
It was easier because later on, because I didn't have a pistol later on, so the hunters I was using then, I had to shoot with the assault rifle, and I found that the pistol was a lot more efficient than the assault rifle.
Aye, the pistol is a one-shot kill if you hit them in the orange squishy bits.
Yeah. No, I had to shoot them a couple of times with the pistol. I did.
But you missed. No, my point is you hit their armor, if that's the case.
No, I didn't.
Well,
because when I shot at them, that orange blood or whatever it was produced, and then I had to shoot it again.
Well, the pistol is a one-hit kill on the hunters. Always has been.
Well, I'm just telling you what happened.
Okay. Is it possible something else shot them?
No.
Okay. Did they run into each other?
No.
Well, it's strange then, because it's supposed to be a one-hit kill.
Well, that's what happened with me.
Okay. Fair enough. Did you finish the mission?
Yes, I did. I had to use up all my ammo to do it.
Yeah. Because you were complaining that there was one bad guy left and you couldn't get in the Pelican.
Yeah. But I think what it was I didn't realise I had to press X when I jumped in. Because I was too focused on this thing attacking me because it was invisible.
Oh, yeah, it was an invisible elite.
Yeah. But what I did was I just kind of went on a bit of the beach and there was some ammo left over, so I just went and collected that and shot it.
Aye, they don't have much shields when they're invisible, but if you turn around and they hit you in the back, then you're dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But when I went back into playing it, I sort of had to remind myself what all the buttons did because it'd been so long since I played it.
But it seems like you picked up pretty quickly because that was your first heroic mission alone.
Yeah.
On a mission 5 out of 10, so you're doing really well, especially considering it's on heroic now.
You said you were very impressed. That was your word. You were very impressed at how fast I was progressing.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We shall now move on to the news.
We will now move on to the news. The news is very interesting. Prepare yourself for the news.
I'm dancing dancing like a robot, but I know you can't see me, so I'm going to tell you. So there's a few games where you've watched some gameplay, or one that's came out last year, one that's to come out this year, and one that is coming out this year, but we actually played.
Yes. We played a demo for it.
Yes. So we're going to start with the one that came out last year, and that was
Burnout Paradise Remastered.
So what is Burnout Paradise Remastered?
It is a driving game.
Excellent. Now we'll move on.
It's a driving game where I think you can choose the kind of car you want, and the game sets challenges for you. So it's like, smash X amount of billboards, get this much airtime, jumping off of something.
Well, I've played a bit of Paradise. I didn't much like it, but I didn't much like it because I felt that I didn't know where I was going to do anything. Because the game does have sort of races, like prescripted races that you can do, almost like sort of a story progression, as it were, similar to sort of, say, Forza Horizon. But it doesn't have a sort of big overworld map, and it doesn't have the waypoint GPS. So I didn't really know where I was going to do anything. So I stopped playing after about half an hour because I just felt completely lost and I couldn't find anything to do.
Yeah, I stopped watching somebody play it after half an hour because I was like, I'm not watching this anymore.
Because the challenges that you were speaking of are co-op challenges, multiplayer challenges.
Yeah.
So you basically get, I think it might be 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 players.
Yeah.
And you're not, is it 50 or 100 challenges for them to do? And they're different challenges for the different multiplayer. So it's a different 50 or 100 if you've got 2 people than 3, 4, 5. I mean, there's some overlap, but you basically, to do all the challenges, you need to play it with each of the different sets of numbers of people.
Okay.
And do all the challenges for each of them. They don't. You don't get the 2-player ones by playing it 4-player.
Yeah.
And so the game gave them this list of challenges, and they just played through as many as they could. But it does seem like a lot of fun. But
It does.
only if you know where you're going.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun, definitely to play it, but not to watch. And you need more than just yourself to be there.
I think you can see from how much fun they were having that there is you do get a reward from playing it. You do, once you learn what you're doing, where you're going, what the map looks like, then you do get your rewards. But until that point, I think it's a pretty steep learning curve because it tells you to go to places that you literally don't know where to get where they are because you can't see an overworld view of the map. There's only a small mini map, similar to Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yes.
If memory serves. There's definitely no GPS. But from the actual gameplay, it looks like the driving's fun. You can go ridiculously fast for a very long period of time. There's lots of good multiplayer games and lots of challenges to play. I think when I played it, I had no problem with the driving. I really enjoyed the driving. So that's what those multiplayer challenges seem to be, just an excuse to drive around the world with your mates. But one of the things that I really noticed was the crash system in Burnout Paradise. All the Burnout games have had great crash systems. I had one for the GameCube. But what I really noticed was that when you've got that many people and they're all like trying to do the same jump, they'll smash into each other and crash. And if you just sit and watch that, you get these great crash sequences where your mates smash into each other and go flying around.
Yeah.
And I think that seems to be the takeaway message, is that it seems to be the driving is great. It does seem, once you learn where you're going, it seems to be an awful lot of fun. But the best experience seems to be the multiplayer with your mates, just driving around doing stuff for almost no reason.
I think that would be the co-op function would probably be better than the actual single player for that game, because I think that if you were just doing single player, you would get bored of it eventually.
Well, there are
races. Depends.
Well, there are races and stuff like that. It's not just the same thing.
Okay.
But I think that would be a lot of fun. But I think that the multiplayer is probably the real reason to play that, considering the remaster came out last year. It's a remaster from 2008, so it does show its age a bit. There's certain quality of life things which aren't there. I mean, graphically it looks pretty nice, but if it was made now, it would be a lot sharper in some ways. But I don't really think that's a big deal. Although it might make the crashes look more good, because the crashes look amazing, and that if it was newer, that might help with that. Anyway, we're going to move on now
To Rage 2.
Rage 2.
Rage
we watched
2.
the gameplay trailer for that. It was like 15 minutes long. What did you think?
I thought that it was probably, watching it looked and acted what I presume a genuine dystopian universe future would look like, where it's very grungy, it's dirty, nothing makes sense. However, television still exists.
Yeah, I think that the television you're talking about is quite closed circuit. I don't think it might be broadcast, but I don't think it's like international. I don't think it goes very far.
It was a joke.
There's also the fact that there's the game lore has the apocalypse as being one large explosion, and are they called the Authority? They survived with an awful lot of advanced technology. So,
well, the gameplay I saw didn't explain any of that.
no, I don't think they were going to in that. They were just trying to show off how the gameplay might work, and the example of a mission, and what the actual look of the game and the feel.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see a game where they have characters with like pretty much distinct personalities.
Yes, yeah. I mean, even the first game, which I think missed a couple of marks. I enjoyed playing it to a degree, but it did miss something, especially at the end, where it just sort of ends. I did enjoy playing it for some aspects of it, and I like the background lore. I really do. It doesn't surprise me that certain technology survives, because remember, they've got cars.
Yeah.
And machine guns. And energy weapons, I'm going to assume at some point. So for the TV to survive is not a big deal. I think it is actually a recording studio. And I don't know if you remember the face, but the mask that the people were wearing?
Yeah. What was that of?
I think that was the face of the guy who used to ran the mutant fighting game show, which was a little side thing you could do in the first game. And the mutants are not the people in the mask, they're the people crawling around the floor trying to kill the main character when he's doing all the shooting. What do you think of the character design?
Thought the character designs were alright. It gives, like I said, everybody's got like a distinct personality and a distinct look to it. Like each one has a distinct...
The city you were in?
Pardon?
The city that you were in, the town, what do you think of that?
Kind of just a general dystopian kind of vibe to it.
Okay.
That's what it reminded me of. Shooting looked kind of cool, unique, because it's got like this glove, like that's like pulse thing on it. I don't know what that is.
I think that was one of the powers. I'm talking about the actual gunplay shooting.
It looked alright if I remember correctly. Like there was just so much going on. It's trying to like.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
It looked like you could hip fire, but that pulling up the cross sights worked better. The powers system looks interesting. It looks like in the previous game there weren't any powers and you could only hold 4 weapons at once. I think in this one you can hold as many as you want, and you've got powers, so you can throw people around and blow them up and all the rest of it. And there's loads of different powers, to the point where some people might not try them all, depending on how they play the game.
Yeah.
The mission looked interesting because that looked like a sort of covert social stealth mission, like Hitman-esque or Deus Ex-esque. And I'd never seen it. I don't think I saw anything like that in the first one. The first one was pretty militaristic. It was, these are the bad guys, go shooty shooty.
Okay.
Anyway, I think you want to move on to Anthem now.
Yes, please. We played the demo for Anthem.
So, thoughts?
My thoughts is that, yeah, on the whole, it seems like it's going to be a really fun game for well, as soon as, you know, the entire full thing comes out and you can play it and actually understand properly what's going on, because obviously we only got a snippet of the storyline. I couldn't really follow it all that much.
No, I don't think there is any way to follow that. You need the background to completely understand what that was.
We were just literally just thrown into it for a certain point. But it looks good, apart from when we were talking, the eyes are a bit like soulless almost. It's kind of creepy going up to space. Like the top of the head just does not move. Everybody's been Botoxed.
Yeah, the eyes area doesn't move. There's no emotion, and the face doesn't really show much either. So they're basically just, what do you mean he is dead? That is a shame.
Basically like you. Like your voice.
Exactly.
Your voice. Everybody is you. You were the one they modelled it all on.
Exactly. And I thought that was creepy coming from BioWare.
It's like looking in a mirror.
There's also a couple of bugs where we kept getting reset and thrown back to the very... I mean, we didn't lose any progress as such, but, you know, we got booted out a couple of missions and we got kicked back to the opening sequence.
Yeah. I also learned what free play meant.
Yeah, you thought it was a monies thing, so you were asking if you had to pay for access to parts of the demo. And it's, well, what is free play?
Free play is basically where you're not following the storyline. You can just go off and do what you want for a little bit.
It's basically another word for it would be something like free roam.
As this game has been advertised, there's a flying mechanic in it.
Yes, the javelins do fly.
So, yeah, by the way, the javelin is what the suit of armor is called, or like the suit is called. You are then, you can play with friends, and you can be in the same group as your friends, but you get put into a group, and then you have to battle, what was it again?
Yeah, they were people. We were fighting people, and I think at one point we fought some bugs.
Now, it took us a while to figure out how to actually launch ourselves into the air, because the demo didn't actually tell us. But the actual motion of you flying is pretty cool once you get the hang of it.
It does take a bit of getting the hang of.
It does. You described it as it's a bit like driving the Warthog on Halo. But I thought, oh, this is brilliant. It's continuous flight, but it's not true continuous flight. It is, you can overheat, and it's got a little bar that shows you, you know, when you're in the danger zone, and you have to cool off. And I thought you just had to go in motor, and then you discovered, no, you just dive. Diving cools you off. So you can, if you're good at flying, you can effectively continuously fly throughout the entire thing.
That's what I did, remember? And the team ended up behind me because they'd stopped to cool down, and I ended up surrounded by bad guys.
Yeah, all I kept hearing was, where are you? 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 And I'm like, it's taking me a while. I need to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
I think you got a little bit irksome with me because I was taking so long to learn.
No, I didn't get annoyed when you tell me that you take long to learn. I got annoyed that between the two of us, you were the one that could see I was getting far ahead. So all you had to do was tell me. Because the game automatically, if you go from one area to another, launches the team up to you. Or if you enter like the battle zone for that mission, it launches the rest of the team up to you after a while. But that kind of annoys me because it's not really open world if you get forced around the place. And it only gives you like 10 to 15 seconds to catch up, and the world's huge.
It is pretty big.
Your co-op team can just pull you out, and it's sort of a bit... I just thought that was a bit tedious. I think it could give you more time.
Yeah, but we also sort of found that the flying mechanic, I don't know if it is for everybody, was a bit buggy. Because for no reason, I'll never let go of the remote, of the controller. I would just fall. Like I wasn't overheated or anything like that. I would literally just stop flying.
Yeah, that happened to me a couple of times, but I just re-clicked the button and it worked fine.
Yeah, but that's annoying that happens.
Because it takes you totally out of the immersion of flying around.
Yeah.
Not great.
But the javelins themselves are pretty cool because you have a basic javelin at the beginning, but you can customize it. You can change the actual appearance of it, but you can also switch javelins because it unlocks different ones for you. So if you find like, oh, well, I prefer to be like running on the ground really fast, that has an option for you. One that is like a more strength-based, So you can choose a javelin based on what attributes you want to have, basically.
Yeah, so just to clarify, I don't think you actually start with a basic javelin. I think you start with what's called the Ranger javelin. And it's sort of like...
It's an all-rounder.
It's an all... Yeah, I agree, yeah. Because the other three, because there's four, one is the tank sort of one, where you take a lot of damage, might be called the Colossus. One is the speed one that you're talking about, and it's the weakest armoured, and the whole point of that is that it drops... Basically, you're supposed to fly around, drop in, cut stuff up in a melee attack, and then fly away before they can do anything.
Yeah.
When I told you that's what you were supposed to do, I actually remember you going, "Oh my god," because you were cutting through them like they were butter.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because that character's shooting is much weaker. You thought you were just really weak.
Yeah.
And the one that I picked was
the big burly one.
No, I didn't. I picked the.
I thought you did.
No, I picked the sort of elemental wizard one.
I can't remember.
They've each got different powers that are activated. You've got an ultimate sort of thing, and then you've got your other powers, which are based on the loot that you've got equipped.
Mm-hmm.
So for the ranger, it was a grenade and a wrist rocket, and for the other one that I had, it was lightning bolts and fire. I could set off explosions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
based on the loot.
What also kind of drove me crazy was the fact that when you die, you have to get somebody else to revive you.
That's very, very common from multiplayer games.
I know, but I just personally I found it annoying. Subjectively, I found it annoying.
I don't think you have to get somebody else to revive you, do you? I thought you could revive yourself after a certain amount of time.
I couldn't. I was stuck there forever.
Oh no, I think if you're in, there's certain non-revive zones where you have to wait for somebody to come and get you.
Right. The reason I was laughing at the objectively thing is because week after week I give my opinion on something and Tommy goes, "No, that's not objectively, that's subjectively." And you tried to teach me what each one meant, how to do each one.
Yeah. What did you think of the world that you were in?
Wider world. I really liked it. I thought it was actually really immersive. I love anything that has to do with like beautiful nature scenes or anything like that, and that is pretty much what that was. It was like walking into a fantasy world. It was fantastic.
What about the Fort Tarsus, the city?
It kind of reminded me of some of this, like the towns in Star Wars, like the sand place.
Tatooine.
Yeah, it kind of just reminded me of that.
No, I see what you mean.
What's it called? The movie, what was it? Prince of Persia. And I understand that's a game.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It looks like it's sort of set in that kind of part of the world.
Yeah, the city does for sure.
Yeah. And that's quite a stark contrast where you go from quite a sandy place to a beautiful sort of like green, very plentiful waterfalls and all this kind of thing. So that's kind of weird. That's a little bit polar opposite.
You can understand why they did that, because the whole idea is to show off the flight, so you need to be able to go through water.
Yeah.
When it came to the combat, I have to say that they're going for a very Destiny-esque approach. I don't think it worked as well. I've played Destiny and I loved the combat in Destiny. The shooting was fantastic. I just think this combat seems a bit detached.
I've not played Destiny.
But I didn't feel as immersed in it. We also tried we completed the story missions, and then do you remember it bugged on the last cutscene for me, the last little conversation, so I never got to see it.
Yeah, and then you're like, quickly record it, and I couldn't. But there was that last cutscene. Well, not even so much the cutscene, it was before you enter the cutscene, I said just sit and watch for a little bit. And that was the part where it was like, it was on a loop, but it was a really, really bad edit of a loop.
Yeah, the little animations that the characters were doing were looping.
Yeah.
like the way they were, just to explain it, the way they were standing and maybe slightly twisting or looking around the room. But the look was so bad that at one point you can actually see the person jump like 20 degrees to their right-hand side,
Yeah.
twist. Yeah, and this guy in the chair, his head just rockets around for a fraction of a second and then resets. It wasn't very well done. One last thing was we tried the Stronghold, which is sort of like a strike in Destiny, just a bit longer. That was where we had to pick up those light things and put them in a thing. It was weird. We had balls of light and we had to take them to this sort of like DJ music level pad thing that kept bouncing up and down. And once you deliver so many, it activates, you move to the next area. And it kicked us out, remember?
Yeah.
Well, I went back later on that day and tried it with a different team because you'd gone to bed.
Yeah, because it was like about 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, so I went back in and played it because there was another few hours to go. And my team got through the first few parts. And the javelins do play differently because I played this with the new javelin that I had, and the javelins do play differently, and the loot really does affect how they play. The loot does drop regularly. You do feel a sense of progression.
Right.
And there is a difference to the way they play, and that's very good. But when we got through the first area, and then we got into these tunnels, and you had to find a way through, but it doesn't tell you, it just says find the way through. And it was very much one of those like super secret things in a Destiny raid, even though this is actually the way you do it. And we found the door, but the door didn't open unless we were all there, but it didn't tell us that. So we were looking for 20 minutes to the point where everybody else in my team quit out. So when I went back to the door, it opened for me, but it didn't open because other members of the team weren't there. So I then tried to finish it on my own.
How'd that go?
Well, I got all the way to the final boss.
Well done.
It wasn't easy. I managed to I was really proud of myself. There was a couple of moments where I was supposed to hold off some bugs in an area where you can't fly and your health doesn't regenerate as quickly.
Yeah.
And they sort of just stopped moving at one point, which I was quite happy with, because with nobody there to wake me up, I was in trouble if I died. But they did stop moving, and that worked fine for a few seconds. But I think it might have been something that had been done to them rather than just bad coding. I'm not sure. But I managed to get through to the final boss, and that was where I just couldn't do it by myself, because I was drawing all the fire from the final boss. I was running out of ammo because you have to kill the extra little enemies, which I couldn't do because I couldn't take my eye off the boss because it was spitting stuff at me. It wasn't possible for me to win, but I did take it down by like a sixth of its health, a sixth to a quarter, or a fifth or a sixth, something like that, before I just realised that even if I did survive, which I probably could have done, I couldn't get the ammo that I needed and do the damage required to do it before the timer ran out.
No.
Because I had like 15 minutes left, so I couldn't do it, so I just quit out. But it did seem like fun. It's just that was, I mean, how were we supposed to find out we were doing, it needed to give feedback to say you're in the right area, you know?
Yeah.
It could have just said, once you've found the door, it could have said, wait for your team.
Yeah.
Because 2 or 3 of us found that door, and it didn't change the thing at the top. It should have said, wait for your team. It should have said something. Yeah, I just thought that was poorly done.
Yeah, it would have been good to have a prompt.
Yeah, anyway, I think it's trying to be like Destiny, but if the combat isn't improved in its immersion, I just don't think I'm going to have any fun with it.
No. Shall we move on to Xenos?
Yes, so the other news is... it's a quick piece. The Grand Theft Auto Online cheater has been found guilty in a court of law and is required to pay $150,000 to Take-Two.
Yeah, and then he has to pay an extra, what was it, 70 grand?
In their legal fees.
Yeah.
The issue is he had created a cheat program which allowed Grand Theft Auto players to do whatever they wanted to do, which includes generating unlimited currency. Now, currency is you buy the currency or you earn it by playing.
Yeah.
So they were able to sue, saying that this cheat is costing us actual money.
Right.
The other issue is that the individual in question was selling the program depending on the package that the players who were using it wanted.
Ah.
It's their own fault.
Do you agree with how much money they have to pay? Because that's a lot of money. If it's just like an average person, that is a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah, I think that if the 70,000 legal fees, I mean, that could be anything. We can't judge that.
No.
But the 150 grand, if that's because that's how much money the person's made, or if that's how much Rockstar can argue that it's cost them, then yeah, that's just what it is. Anyway, it was
Teaches
silly.
you not to do cheat things and to sell them.
I think they might go away with selling the cheat stuff if it didn't include unlimited currency. That's the issue, I think.
Quite possibly.
If it was cheating to stop, I think if you took out any cheat that added currency like that, gave them items they would otherwise have to buy, or made it easier to do things so they didn't buy items they otherwise would have. If you just, like your character turns into a sheep, that would have been fine. I think they might have got away with that. But I don't think they'd have been able to sell that particular cheat program. So
No.
I think that's where the issue comes in. It's been about them trying to make money for themselves by damaging Take-Two, and that means that they've had to take them to court, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, next story. Over the past couple of months, EA executives have been dumping EA stock, and EA stock value has lost 50% since July 2018.
Yep.
So remember that Battlefront 2 and Battlefield 5 sold half their targets. They sold 7 million instead of the 14 to 15 million which EA were hoping for. They made a statement about future releases, and it does beg the question of have they rushed some of the releases they've recently made to try and make some of the money back. Like Apex Legends had absolutely no fanfare, and I thought that was a deliberate decision because it was made by Respawn, and Respawn have just recently been bought by EA, so they might not be as bad. Maybe it was a deliberate decision not to market it too much and just let it go and see what it did. But there's also the question now, did they not have the chance to do it because they rushed it, because they've made such losses, or not made losses, but not made as much money as they thought they would from other titles? They also mention in that statement there's an upcoming Star Wars game, The Fallen Order. That's being made by Respawn as well. I hope that does come out, and I think it might because it was in production before EA bought them. And they did mention a Need for Speed title. Now, the previous 3 Need for Speed titles have been a disaster. I don't know how well they sold, but the gameplay's been terrible and full of loot box mechanics. And people are just, I think with the last one, it was just a case, EA, you've got to stop this, we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
So for them to think they're going to bring out another one, that's an interesting concept. EA have blamed the heavy release window and the single player focus for why Battlefield 5 didn't do well. Well, you're the one who chose to release it in that window, and the single player focus concept, I don't know why they think anybody's going to believe EA is focusing on single player. But they said that they focused on single player rather than putting in a battle royale mode, and that's why that's not the point. You lost to Black Ops and you lost to Red Dead Redemption because Red Dead Redemption's a good single player story game that people want. People love single player story games, whether the industry wants to admit it or not. And the reason they lost to Black Ops was because Black Ops didn't turn around and start insulting its fans.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, don't buy the game. People didn't buy the game. And now you try to blame single player focus for it. That actually is a bit insulting to people who like multiplayer. Like, they would have not noticed the insults somehow. How will EA respond to the lost stock value?
You're asking
I
me.
have an answer here. I want you to give me what you think, and then I'll tell you what actually happened.
Gonna guess that they're gonna be cutting jobs.
Right?
And also they're going to be bringing forth games that probably aren't ready to be brought forth to try and drum up more revenue.
I don't think cutting that many employees would actually help the stock value too much. If they're in terminal decline because they can't sell copies, cutting your
Well, if they've brought
production staff
if they've brought onto their team a company that's making another Star Wars game,
I think they
would
bought
that
them-
not? But pardon?
I think they bought them last year. Or
They
the
bought
year
them last
before.
year, right? Okay.
400 million for a company that's not made a bad game. I mean, that's pretty good investment.
How will they raise their stock prices?
The idea you had about releasing games too soon is probably right on the money, but what actually happened was that the release of Apex Legends is what's done it, because they've hit 10 million players recently,
Yeah.
and it's caused an increase in EA stock price of 12%.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
It's a free-to-play cosmetic loot box game, and the loot boxes don't give duplicates, and you can earn them just by leveling up in the game. But it still has loot boxes, which, I mean, this is strange. EA already know they're under fire for this. Why are they putting more loot boxes in? Simple. Because greed is the way their company is built. If they don't have loot boxes, their company is structured wrong.
Right.
So they're just trying to do it because they've got nothing else they can do. It also appears that Apex Legends has been released instead of Titanfall 3.
Mhm.
Respawn made the first two Titanfall games, and then this is based on Titanfall, this
Yeah.
Battle Royale game. And it looks like Titanfall 3 has been shelved because of it, so that's bad. But what do you expect from EA? They seem to think single player is some sort of death sentence for them. So what do you think?
Well, like I said, I think they're going to be pushing games to be released before they're technically ready, and it's going to be big name games that people will want to happen. Like the Star Wars game, I'm going to guess one of those games.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that they'll actually get Respawn to do that, because Apex Legends might have been released a bit early, but it does function really, really well. They might, but I'm not so sure if that's the way they'll... I think there's other games they'll force out early, but I'm not so sure if the Star Wars one will be it.
I don't know, but that's a
'Cause
possibility.
it's a single-player game, remember. It won't have... It might not have loot boxes in it. So they might just leave that to do whatever it's doing,
Right.
you know?
Okay.
If they even release it at all.
Mhm.
But I mean, this story is quite clear. EA don't know how to actually treat their fans well, their customers well, and they're financially dependent on loot box mechanics. Battlefront 2 and Battlefield 5 sold 7 million copies each. The Witcher 1 sold 600,000 copies and was considered a huge success. Why? They even released free DLC for it. Why was it really considered a huge success? Because it was structured right. They sold that game to just sell the game at a certain price for the computer, so they only spent so much money making it, and their targets were reasonable. They then went on to make 2, which was huge, and 3, which was huger.
So do you think that
EA,
they
on the
will...
other...
Sorry.
On you go.
I was going to say, so do you think they're going to put less effort into making their games?
They probably will try and cut their development costs, but the problem isn't the development costs, it's the fact that they made a profit on those games, whether they like it or not. The problem is that their profit margin is so huge that they need to hit. They had to sell double the number they did just to meet their targets.
Right.
That's what's causing the stock value loss, is they keep saying we expect to sell this number of copies, and that means this much profit. They don't get that because they're being ridiculous, and it causes a stock value crash. I could balance... if you put me in charge of that company, I could balance their books in about 5 minutes. But they want billions every month in profit, and that's just not going to happen.
Right.
I think that's the biggest problem, is that the loot boxes are going whether they like it or not, and their targets are ridiculously high.
Rightio.
Anyway, Next story is it's a very similar story for Activision Blizzard, has been altering its company policies to allow them to pay more employees off to buy out their contracts. With over 100 being affected in Ireland, they've chosen to take money and leave the company. To be honest, if I worked for Activision Blizzard, I'd probably do that too.
This is all from Bungie leaving, isn't it?
No, it's a sort of knock-on effect.
Knock-on effect from Bungie leaving. That's what I mean.
Aye, it's the whole idea is they're trying to cut down development costs. They're trying to cut down on IPs that they don't think make them enough money. Because Destiny 2 did pretty well. You know, Bungie were very happy with it.
But
when it came to its sales.
I thought Activision weren't happy.
What did you say?
I thought I was talking over what you were about to say, which was Activision Blizzard weren't happy with the sales. They actually thought it was quite poor sales for Destiny 2.
Yes, because they didn't have enough microtransactions for them.
Yeah.
It was over microtransactions to the point where Bungie had to step back in after release and fix it, and Activision Blizzard were still unhappy.
So Bungie were like, bye-bye.
Yeah, so Bungie just went, you know, they already knew they were going as of the Forsaken DLC release, because they actually came out and said, we're extremely happy with how Destiny 2 is doing, after Activision said it was unhappy.
Right.
It was basically just them saying, we're not doing anything, deal with it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so they've been buying off contracts left, right and centre. Company executives are telling people to cut costs, and a lot of their IP are being shut down. Particularly Blizzard IP are being shut down. IP is intellectual property. It basically just means the game franchises. Like Halo is a game franchise, Destiny is a game franchise.
Yeah.
Also, the Swedish tax agency is going after King. This is the company that is the mobile division of Activision Blizzard. Yeah,
because they're the ones that do like Candy Crush and all this kind of stuff.
Exactly, and the Swedish tax agency is going after them for $370 million, which they want by, I think it's the end of February.
Yeah.
Investors are still investigating the company due to the loss of so many IP and their financial underperformance. There are also planned job cuts for their upcoming profit call, I think it's called. They've lost 10% of their stock value, and lots of executives have been leaving recently. Even the quotes the quotes about them cutting costs come from a woman who has already left. She left in January.
Mm-hmm.
I think she gave that quote in like December or January and then left. So or at least that's the first time I read that quote, sorry. So she was in for about 6 months and then immediately ran away. And in the past 4 months, they have also lost 50% of their stock value.
Yeah.
Now, with another free-to-play Battle Royale game, that means Call of Duty Black Ops primary selling... Black Ops 4's primary selling point is gone. Secondly, they're loot boxing that. And they did what I think they did with previous games, where they brought in the loot boxes after people had bought the game.
Yeah.
And people just, no, we're not doing that. So they're not making the money that they need. They want huge amounts of money. They were the second best selling game of last year, and that wasn't good enough for them. They're shutting down IP left, right, and centre. The Game of Heroes or Storm of Heroes is gone. That costs hundreds of jobs. They might be shutting down Hearthstone. That'll cost even more. They're shutting things down left, right, and centre. They just lost Destiny. And it's one of the big problems that they've got is that Activision Blizzard don't seem to have many IP anymore. Call of Duty is really holding that company up, but it's doing the same thing FIFA 19 is with EA. It's starting to tank. It just can't. It held a line quite high for a long time, but it just can't keep it up. And now with the fact that loot boxes.
Jesus. You alright?
I'm just going to keep saying my sentence. Are going to be.
I'm keeping it in.
Are going to be going the way. Yeah, you just can't stop laughing at me sneezing, but when I actually tell a joke, you don't laugh.
It was just so loud.
When loot boxes are going the way of the dodo, I don't know how they're going to survive either, because they've chucked all their IP. I mean, EA have lots of IP at least, even if they don't know what to do with them. But Activision have chucked all their IP. It's not looking good for either of those companies.
No.
Thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. More people that jump ship and more cuts they do, the worse they're getting.
Yeah, the exact phrase was "don't spend money where you don't need to." So that means we're going to make worse games with less development costs, sell them for higher prices, and then microtransaction them to the point. These two companies have to go.
You happy?
On you go.
No, you happy? Are you happy that you said that?
They do. I mean, they're based on greed. Their company models can't survive. It's also interesting is along with EA and Activision Blizzard, Take-Two also took a hit to their stock price because it didn't meet expectations.
No, even though...
They made
Yeah.
Yeah, even though they made Red Dead Redemption 2, which was the biggest selling game of the year, it was like 23 million copies.
Yeah, by the...
So
was it the third?
why?
Was it the third quarter by the 21st of December? That's how many copies they'd sold.
It was between the end of October and, yeah, it was released in October, so they probably sell pre-order in the third quarter, but yeah, it came out in late October, and
But
they
they're-
topped the charts.
But the stock prices are down by 13%.
Aye. And I think that is indicative of this industry. The bigger companies, I mean, I Take-Two do it better, pardon me, do it better than EA and Activision, obviously.
Yeah.
And they've microtransactioned GTA Online and Red Dead Redemption Online, but they do it in the right way because they just sell you currency. So you don't need to buy it. It's totally through choice. It's not unique items that you're buying. You can get it all yourself if you just play the game.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. And they put lots of free content in. I think they do it the right way. But to not meet expectations, I think that means that they've just made not as bad a mistake because it's only a 13% drop, but why have you set your expectations so ridiculously high? But although with a 13% drop, that actually could be a business model, a cyclical business model that they don't meet expectations, but they do sell really well. So when people hear the profit call, they didn't meet expectations, but when they see the profit continuing, that causes the stock price to rise. And then they announce that they're going to be making a new game. That causes the stock price to shoot up, and it only drops by 13% when they don't quite hit the target.
Yeah.
The expectations are obviously far too high. If a game that did that well didn't meet them,
I think it's because
that's over 3 times.
I think it's because the investors were maybe told that it was going to be a lot higher than it actually was. That's why the
Yeah,
stock
but
prices fall.
I mean, that's a ridiculous thing because they sold 23 million copies, which was like over triple what EA sold for Battlefield 5 or Battlefront 2.
Well, the first round of sales, I can't remember whichever quarter it was, they sold 10 million. And then by the end of December, it was 23 million.
Yeah, so my thoughts on that would be that it's either a business model, which I could see because it's only a 13% drop, but it could be that they've whoever came up with these expectations was a moron. 23 million is incredible. What more do you want? It must have been like another 5 maybe 1 or 2, but I just think that's been silly. I think that's an industry issue where they're overvaluing everything then. So that's something they've got to fix as an industry.
Yeah.
But why do you think EA and Activision Blizzard, 50% drops, why do you think they've been hit so hard?
I think that probably people are still talking about with the EA, they're going to be still talking about that last Star Wars game where they were charging ridiculous amounts of money for their, was it for loot boxes or something like that to get characters?
Yeah, the progression system was linked to the loot boxes, so it was like 10,000 hours or use real money to buy loot boxes.
So I think that is still fresh in people's mind, and a lot of people are now realizing about the loot boxes becoming quite a serious issue. So I think that's still fresh in people's minds, so possibly it's just that I'm not going to buy your product because of this reason. Activision Blizzard, quite possibly just because they just keep cutting jobs left, right and centre, and now quite a reputable game company that they bought up is now leaving them. So it feels like people are jumping ship.
Yeah. For me, I think it's two things. One is the expectation of profit is ridiculously high, and secondly, it is the loot box. Battlefront 2 is a seminal moment in gaming. It's like a tipping point in time. You know, that was when everybody said this loot box stuff is too far, and countries started looking at banning them because of it.
Yeah.
And EA and Activision Blizzard rely heavily on blind loot box microtransactions.
Yeah.
And that's been looked at so heavily. I mean, Fallout 76, it has ridiculously high-priced microtransactions. It's done terribly. If people see a game that's not very good, with huge amounts of microtransaction costs, especially blind loot boxes, it turns them away from the company. And that's where the Battlefront 2 is such a huge moment in gaming history, because it woke people up finally to they can actually do something. Because EA won worst company in the world for like 3 or 4 years running. Nobody did anything about it. Suddenly loot boxes come along, and then they do something.
Yeah.
And the people stop buying the games. And EA caught up Activision, because Activision had found a way of sneaking this stuff in and nobody even noticed, but they were even worse than EA. But as soon as EA did Battlefront 2 and linked it to the progression system, which was probably because Disney said they couldn't link it to cosmetics, immediately they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Immediately they have to put in the progression system, and Activision get caught up when everybody notices that these loot boxes are ridiculous. I think Shadow of War also had a really bad loot box system they had to cut out of the game, but the actual base game still worked really well. So that company kind of got away with it. But people are violently reacting against blind loot boxes now, and it's because of Battlefront 2. I think that people got annoyed with Shadow of War, very angry that such a great game had been ruined by loot boxes. But when it came to EA, that was a bad game that had been ruined by loot boxes, and that was clearly just made to make money from loot boxes, because the game didn't work if you didn't buy them. Whereas, and I just think that was, people were angry about Shadow of War, and then EA made the terrible decision to release Battlefront 2, and that just became the focus of the anger, because it was the most blatant case of it.
Yeah.
And there was no way to fix it, because removing the loot boxes still left a progression system that didn't work. I think that's what's happened. It's Battlefront 2 has been such a hugely important gaming history moment, and I think that's why those two companies have been hit so hard, because they make bad games that then rely on microtransactions that people are just not having anymore, and then they massively overestimate how much they're going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So that's everything.
Yes. We hope you have enjoyed this.
We'll edit this and see what it sounds like.
That has what it's been sounding like at some points.
So I agree with Abigail. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, this ShadowCast. I think it's 33.
If you would like to if you could like this video and subscribe to our channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Please leave a comment. We're open to all comments of any kind. And you can follow us on Facebook at overshadow.shadowcast, and you can email us at overshadow.shadowcast@gmail.com. We'll put the links in the description in the box down below. Please, Tommy, if you could do that for me.
Yes, the links are in the description below, and we have a plethora of ShadowCasts to listen to now.
Yes, when you're on the train, coming home, or if you just want to have a good time, just put it on.
Put it on in the background, listen to it while you're doing something.
Put it on in the background while you play Halo.
Whittling wood, or playing a game that you don't necessarily need to hear, or, family members have come round you don't like, just put that on and listen to that instead.
Make them listen to it.
Yeah, make them listen. If you can print off some leaflets and hand them round in the street, that would be great. If you go driving down the street, plug in your phone and play it out the speakers at full volume, windows down. Can you imagine that if we did that as an advertisement campaign instead of music blaring out, it's just our voices going, Hello.
Hello, people. Welcome to OverShadow ShadowCast with your host, Thomas Anderson.
Thomas Roboto.
Thomas Roboto. Anyway, so I will say goodbye.
I will also say goodbye.
And we hope to see you. Well, we hope you join us next time. So, farewell.
Bye-bye.